Poverty does not break you because you have no money. Poverty breaks you because you believe you deserve no more than what you already have. That belief is the real prison. And the man who taught kings how to seize power without apology has a brutal answer for why the poor stay poor. Not bad luck, not injustice, not fate. A pattern. A silent agreement you made with your own smallness so long ago you forgot you ever made it. Niccolo Machiavelli did not write for peasants. He wrote for princes. He studied men who took thrones with blood on their hands and never once said sorry for wanting more. And buried inside his ruthless observations about power is a formula so uncomfortable that most people will hear it and flinch, then go right back to their excuses. Because the truth about escaping poverty was never about budgeting better or working harder. It was about becoming a different kind of animal entirely. Think about the people you grew up around, the ones who stayed exactly where they started. Not because the world refused them a chance, but because somewhere inside they made peace with being small. They called it humility. They called it being realistic. They called it knowing your place. Machiavelli would call it the most dangerous lie a poor man ever tells himself, that staying safe is the same thing as staying wise. Here is the first brutal truth. Poverty is not a lack of money, it is a lack of appetite. The poor mind has been trained, generation after generation, to want less, ask for less, expect less, so that disappointment never has the chance to hurt. This looks like wisdom. It is actually surrender wearing a disguise, and the moment you stop wanting more, you have already lost, long before the world had the chance to say no to you. Machiavelli understood something about human nature that moralists still refuse to accept. People do not rise because they are good. They rise because they are willing to do what good people are too afraid to do. Not cruelty for its own sake, precision, the willingness to make hard, cold, calculated moves while everyone around you is busy waiting for permission, waiting for fairness, waiting for someone to notice how hard they are trying. You were taught that hard work is the answer. It is not. Mules work hard their entire lives and die in the same field they were born in. What separates the man who escapes poverty from the man who dies inside it is not effort. It is strategy. It is the willingness to see the world exactly as it is, not as you wish it to be. Machiavelli called this a return to the truth of things rather than the imagination of them. Poverty survives on imagination, the fantasy that things will simply get better, that loyalty will be rewarded, that the universe is keeping score in your favor. It is not. It never was. Here is the second layer, and this one cuts deeper. Poverty is not only economic, it is psychological, and it is inherited like a disease passed silently from parent to child. You watched someone you loved apologize for wanting more. You watched them shrink in rooms full of powerful people. You watched them call ambition greed, and greed a sin, and smallness a virtue, and without knowing it, you absorbed their fear, as if it were your own wisdom. This is the untold formula hiding underneath everything Machiavelli wrote. Before you can escape poverty in the world, you must first execute the poor man living inside your own mind. That sounds harsh. It should. Because comfort is the assassin of ambition, and most people are more addicted to feeling safe than they are committed to becoming powerful. Machiavelli watched empires rise and fall, watched loyal men betrayed and ruthless men crowned, and he arrived at a conclusion that still terrifies people today. Virtue does not build kingdoms. Fortune favors the man who is willing to act while others are still waiting to feel ready. Now ask yourself honestly, how many years have you spent waiting to feel ready? Waiting for the right moment, the right amount of savings, the right sign from the universe that it is finally safe to want something bigger. That waiting is not patience. It is fear, dressed up in a more respectable costume. And fear, more than any lack of money, is the actual architecture of poverty. Here comes the twist most people never see coming. Machiavelli did not believe the poor stayed poor because the rich were cruel. He believed the poor stayed poor because they refused to study power the way the rich studied it. Wealth is not hoarded through violence alone. It is hoarded through information, through relationships, through the silent rules of a game that most people were never taught to play, and worse, were taught to be afraid of even looking at. The poor are taught morality, the powerful are taught mechanics, and mechanics always beats morality when morality has no teeth behind it. This is where the formula begins to reveal itself. Machiavelli's escape from poverty was never about ethics versus ambition. It was about understanding that the world rewards perception as much as it rewards substance. A man who looks capable is given opportunities. A man who merely is capable will never see, because no one bothered to notice him standing quietly in the corner, hoping his hard work would speak for itself. It will not. Silence has never paid a single bill in the history of mankind. So the first weapon is visibility without apology. Stop shrinking to make other people comfortable with your ambition. The second weapon is detachment from approval. Machiavelli warned that a man ruled by the need to be loved will always be ruled by someone else's opinion of him, and a man who is ruled by opinion can never make the cold, clear decisions that wealth actually requires. You cannot build an empire while begging for applause from people who are still standing in the same place they were 10 years ago. The third weapon, and the most uncomfortable one, is the willingness to be temporarily disliked. Every person who escaped the exact circumstances you were trying to escape had to disappoint someone along the way. A parent who wanted them to stay close, a friend who wanted them to stay the same, a community that mistook their ambition for betrayal. Machiavelli never asked his prince to be loved by everyone. He asked him to be respected, because respect survives seasons that affection cannot. And here is the final layer, the one hiding beneath all the others, like a blade under silk. Poverty does not end the day you make more money. It ends the day you stop needing permission to want more. The moment your ambition no longer requires anyone's approval, applause, or understanding, you have already left poverty behind, even if your bank account has not caught up yet. Because poverty was never truly about the number in your account. It was about the size of the life you secretly believed you were allowed to have. Machiavelli spent his life studying men who refused to accept the world as it was handed to them. He watched them lie awake calculating their next move, while everyone else slept peacefully in their acceptance of fate. That sleepless calculation is the real inheritance he left behind, not cruelty, not deception for its own sake, but the brutal discipline of seeing clearly, moving precisely, and refusing to confuse humility with surrender. So here is the warning, and it is not gentle. If you are still waiting for the world to hand you permission to want more, you will die waiting exactly where you started, telling yourself it was never really about the money anyway. The poor stay poor not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack the willingness to become someone their old life would not recognize. Escaping poverty was never a formula written for the comfortable. It was written for the ones willing to burn the version of themselves that settled and become the version that finally, quietly, refuses to ask for permission again.